Let's discuss with my panel. And Jackie, this does come, as Athena notes, amid this larger context about administrators versus some parents and suspicions that some of these schools were more worried about the feelings of students who didn't get these awards, although I guess we still are waiting for all the evidence to come in.
Well, and while that evidence is coming in, I think you can't turn away from Glenn Youngkin, who very much parlayed the issue of education and parental rage into office. I mean, this was the issue that really fueled him. And so the fact that he is latching onto this just shows you how, I mean, he knows that this is very much something that he's hearing from parents. And those same parents, and these people might have voted for Joe Biden, but they also voted for Glenn Youngkin because of this education issue. He knows this is a sweet spot for him.
It's also maybe a tiny bit overplayed. I mean, when I was doing some reporting on school board members and conservative activism around school board members, some of the things that you're hearing, there's a little bit of code there. It's interesting, on the week of Martin Luther King's sort of celebration, you hear a politician saying, this is not about equity of outcomes. This is a kind of political language for those on the right who say you can't just throw out the word equality without that having some sort of nefarious meaning, without that having some sort of implication that means it's a zero-sum game of loss for your child. One other thing I want to mention is that Glenn Youngkin, at one point, they had a hotline for people to call in and say, are you being taught something that you don't think is sort of politically fair? The hotline closed because there weren't any callers, and the ones there were was like the same 5 people over and over again. He's trying to hold on to a political point. He's trying to stoke it. That doesn't mean it's real, and we're sort of playing by his terms when we frame the story this way.
It is an issue that a lot of Republicans are grasping at, or are using, or are seizing. Take a listen to Texas Republican Governor Greg Abbott during his most recent inaugural address earlier this week.
Let's also strive for excellence in education. We must never forget our schools are for education, not for indoctrination.
I mean, you hear that a lot from Republicans. DeSantis, too, is another one.
Yeah, I mean, this sort of brings cultural politics together with the politics of education. And the 2024 subtext here is obvious, right? Glenn Youngkin rode the education issue to winning in a state that Republicans did not think was winnable. And now you have him kind of coming back to this issue as he thinks about what is my lane for 2024 if he proceeds in that direction. It's never too early to start thinking about one's lane in a presidential primary. And so I do think that in some ways this was a savvy move by Youngkin because it allows people, it reminds people of the work he did on education during that campaign. And it brings back the fact that here's someone who is not going to shrink from Ron DeSantis, from others who might run in 2024. He can be just as conservative, just as active on anti-woke politics. And so I think in that way, politically, it was a good move for him.
Actually, the context for him in the election really was COVID. I mean, I know they tried to make it about CRT, which...
Critical race theory.
Critical race theory. Good luck making that, I think, the issue 2 years from now. But the COVID thing really was real, especially in Northern Virginia, where there were a lot of angry parents. I thought the telling thing there in his comments about pretending to be really concerned about this hurting students was you had a 6-year-old in Norfolk, Virginia this week walk in and shoot a teacher with an armed weapon. He responded to this awards debacle, which was clearly a mess, introducing legislation to do something. No response to the actual issue that's keeping, I think a lot of families up at night about the safety of their kids in school. So that contrast was stark to me.
Let's turn